I really am touched by the story in the gospel for today. Obviously, it's one you don't want to use to negotiate people that work for you. You know, he hires this group early in the morning, which is what all of you would be. You'd be up there first thing in the morning, get going, work all day. But then he brings in a new batch of workers about 9, another batch at noon, hires some people at 3, hires a few people at 5, about an hour before closing. And then at the end of the day, everybody's paid the same. He honored his promise, but the early morning people are not happy because they worked all day, the others worked for an hour, and everybody got the same compensation. And then, of course, he says, you're just jealous because I'm so generous. And then he says, the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Obviously, this is not a story about labor negotiations. It's a story about what it's like to live a life of unconditional love. And that somehow generosity and goodness cannot be measured in how much. In fact, generosity and goodness just can't be measured. It's just given out. And somehow, some way, the giving is an end in and of itself. It happens in families. You know it. I know it. Maybe you have a family with 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. I'm not sure if you were the one, but you have one that kind of is always falling, going astray, making mistakes. And mom and dad continue to give and to try to get that person back. And sometimes the other kids, you know, the stable ones like you and me, they see this stuff going on and they kind of wonder, why don't you just kick him out? Okay? Because what you're doing for him, you're not doing for us. I mean, on a personal note, my brother, the Civil War guy, he died young. And when he died, you know, he had a decent paying job and his wife, but, you know, my dad stepped in, you know, paid the bills. And my dad came to my brother and I and said, I'm sorry, but we said, Dad, that's what life's about. You know, we'll take whatever egg money is left over. But right now, Gary's the thing. Take care of him. That's what life is about. It's not measured in how much. It's measured in doing what you got to do for those you love. Even here, you know, in our humble temple, how many times do we have the love bucket for somebody you do not know? And maybe there are times when you give unto others and you wonder, I wonder if my gift is getting exactly where it needs to go. But we can't control that. The only thing we can control is the spirit of giving unto others. And once we give the gift, it's kind of up to the recipient to do what he or she has to do. You know, giving is risky. You know it is. Because maybe you never get the thank you want. And sometimes in life, you give unto somebody from the very depths of your soul, and somehow that person walks away, and you never see that person again, and it hurts because you wonder, is giving worth it? But you know something? When you see the rubble in Mexico, when you see what's happened in Puerto Rico, when you see people crying and holding hands, trying to hold it together, when you see a handwritten thank you note on our bulletin board from the pastor in Texas who has been moved by the money that we've shared with their relief efforts, then you know it is worth it. Because giving can't be measured. All it can be is done. And some of you may wonder sometimes, why do we open our doors all the time to people who don't go here, to be married, to be baptized, to be confirmed? Why do we do that? We do it because that's what Jesus wants us to do. Because Jesus says, the first shall be last, the last shall be first. And if you're the last one to walk in the door and don't give anything and you need us, we're there for you. That's why we do what we do. I remember when I was a Little League baseball coach, and I was truly, honestly, one of the worst baseball coaches. And we were about 0-10 in the middle of the season. And nobody was more frustrated with me than my own son. And a couple of parents got frustrated, 0-9, 0-10, 0-11. And afterwards he was talking to me, and I said, well, you know, it says in the good book, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And he said, you know something, Don, that sounds really good on Sunday morning, but I need a victory on Tuesday night once in a while. Had a funeral here Tuesday for a 34-year-old young man who leaves behind his wife and 11-month-old son. He's never been here on a Sunday morning. He doesn't have a church home. And at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the church was absolutely packed. Every seat was taken. And I mentioned, as I welcomed everybody, I said, it's amazing. Andy, you never went to church. And here on a Tuesday morning, he packs the house. And I said, Andy, could you just come by for like a Sunday or two and do this on a Sunday? But, you know, that's kind of exactly what Jesus wants us to do. The people that come in late are treated with the same dignity as the people who come in early. And I told the funeral director, I said, I don't want to see one penny on that funeral bill that has anything to do with what we do as a church. This is our gift to the family. And he said, really? And I said, that is what the people that come here on Thursday or Sunday would want us to do. And that's what we did. And this morning, a few of our young people are being confirmed. You know, things are different today. You know, I've confirmed 42 classes. And confirmation is not the big whoop-de-doo it used to be 25 or 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, I would say that confirmation is not the high point of a young person or family's life anymore, because too much other stuff gets in the way. But I don't know about you, but I need confirmation every day. Confirmation that the power of giving unto others is always going to be worth it. I need confirmation that the power of goodness and kindness will continue to grow and never go away. I need confirmation that this incredible and majestic God is alive and at work in the ordinary moments of the circle of life that each one of us share. I need confirmation that evil and wrongdoing will never define who I am or who we are as a people. That whatever you decide to do with your life, I'm going to tell these kids, whatever you do, please, always make giving unto others something that is a part of your journey. And if you do that, then your confirmation here is worth it. You know, this young man whose funeral I had on Tuesday, he was the kind of guy who really lived each day almost as if it was his last. And he even lived like that when he had his journey with cancer. And his wife would say, Andy, how can you be like that when you're going through so much? And he said this. He said, Megan, evil never takes a day off. And so I'm never going to take a day off either. And I thought to myself, that's so powerful. I can't take a day off. Every day, somehow, some way, I want to look life straight in the eye and somehow make a difference. Because that's how the power of kindness and goodness continues to live. Life is a circle. It's not just about beginnings and endings. Life is a circle where we see the seeds of goodness, and those seeds of goodness come back to life in the way we plant them every single day. Speaking of the circle, it's Thursday night. You know, the service is about to begin, and she comes up to me, and she hands me a card. And it's like 7:29, so I don't want to start early. And so, is it okay if I open it? And she says, sure. And I opened it. And she looks at me and she said, you know, when my mom was alive, she loved this place. It made a difference. And I opened the card, and there's a check for $25,000. And I thought about the circle of life. I thought about all those times that you leave the door open, and the coffee is on, and the invitation is unconditional. But you see, it's in that circle of life. That's exactly and precisely where God lives every day. And there are some incredible surprises along the way. Amen. If you're able to, please rise for the creed. It's on page 105.